So we all know Fortnite has dropped a new mode called Rocket Racing. As someone who is almost elite rank, I want to share 5 quick tips I wish I knew when I first started climbing. So today, that's what we're gonna talk about. So tip number 1, Rocket Racing is about driving well. Despite how it looks, this game has a lot of depth to it and it's actually relatively difficult. You are going to need to drive well if you wanna win. The boost and speed do not matter. If you start crashing into obstacles or if you start touching walls, your kart will slow down drastically. It's very important that you try to do your absolute best to not hit anything while you're racing. Even touching other cars will result in you slowing down. So don't put too much emphasis on trying to drift left and right to gain nitros. It's about driving well. Someone who drives well will still win out over someone who spams the drift button to try to get more nitros. Tip number 2. Only use your boost when there are no turns. A lot of the times when I'm racing, especially in lower ranks, you'll see people just use their boost as soon as they get it. The best thing you want to do is hold on to your boost until you're sure there are no turns coming up. If you have to boost while drifting at the same time, you're gonna land into a wall, and because you lose so much speed for touching obstacles or hitting the wall, you're basically not even using nitros at that point. The third tip is save your nitros for when you actually need it. There are a lot of sections on each track where it's kind of like a dead zone. Can't really drift, there are no turns, and you're kind of just driving straight. If you always save your nitros for those spots, you're guaranteed to remain ahead of the pack more often than not. Tip number 4, on the first 2 laps, use your boost as much as possible. Obviously, make sure that you're not crashing into walls or you're not running out in really crappy spots, but use your boost as much as possible. On that 3rd lap, try to remain conservative. During the first 2 laps, you want to try to front run as much as possible. This means you want to get as much distance away from everybody else as possible. But on that 3rd lap, you want to make sure that you have enough nitros to actually close out the race once you get towards the finish line. And tip number 5, one of the most important, is you can set up a private track and race by yourself so you can practice, or race with your friends. Racing with your friends is a great way to not only learn the track, but just really have a good time and laugh together. I highly recommend to either play with your friends or to play solo before hopping into ranked. One of the things that I like to do is when I find a track that I'm struggling on in ranked, I will go back into private and run that track by myself so I can get used to the turns. And then once I hop back into ranked, I'm stomping those races because I learned what I should be doing. And those are the 5 tips that I wish I knew when I first started Rocket Racing. If you want to discuss more about Rocket Racing, you want to learn more tips and tricks, come to my Discord, link down in the description below. And of course, make sure you subscribe so that way you don't miss any future Rocket Racing tips. Until next time, you know what I always say. Thank you guys for doing what? Up and often. We're locked.